Shalom, my full name is Mercy Saputrajala. I feel read an article identified him to he Jesus should be recalled as a victim of sexual violence. The season of land is an invitation to the cruises and to anyone as well wishes to do breakfast on disturbing story of the tutor and crucifixion seven of Jesus of Nazareth, as described in the New Testament. It is one of the most widely known and often retold stories in human history. Yet, despite being read and remembered so often, there is a part of the story which typically reads little understand and minimal description of Jesus. The Me Too movement has highlighted the prevalence of sexual assault, sexually harassment, and other sexual abuses experienced by women and girls in many different forms. It has also exposed the common tendencies to deny, dismiss, or minimize the signification and impact of the experience, the striving of Jesus. What is in mean during the French Little period? It seems especially appropriate to regard the stripling of Jesus and to name it for what it was intended to be, a powerful display of humiliation and gender, blood violence which should be treated careless as an of sexual violence and abuse. The idea that Jesus himself experienced sexual abuse may seem strange or shocking at first, but Christian says was a suffering punishment, and the stripping as express of fitness was not accidental or incidental or incidental element. It was a deliberate action that the Romans was there to humiliate and degrade for the wizard to punish. It meant that the tribulation was more than just physical. It was also a devastating emotional and psychological punishment. The conversion in Christian are of suffering Christness on the cross with a large note is perhaps an understandable response to the instant identity of Roman confession, but this should not prevent us from recognizing that the historical reality would have been very different. This is not just a matter a matter of recording the historical record. If Jesus is named as a victim a victim of sexual abuse, it should make a hook difference to how the churches equate most men like Me Too and how they promote change in wider wider society. This called contributes significantly to positive change in money countries and especially in societies where the majority of people identify as Christian. Some subjects make respond stripping a prisoner motive be a form of violence violence or about but it is misleading to count this sexual violence or sexual about. Yet if the purpose was to humiliate the captive and expose him to mockery by order, and it the stripping in down again has will end as a way to shame him in public. Them recognize it as a form of sexual violence or sexual about since under their justifies the way that the stripping of vertical Thor, Thoric, king of the Arpheni, is depicted in the first episode of the first series of the Harbor series. Rome is an example of dress. The science highlights the whole vulnerability of the naked prisoner who is stripped and exposed in front of the assembled reign of hostile Roman soldiers. The power and control of Roman power is contrast with the vulnerability and force submission of the prisoner. The scan also hits at the possibility of even greater sexuality violence which may be in store. Combating stigma. Jesus is central to leaders, shaming unwillness to recognize the sexual about to which he is subject analysis of the gendering of 19th by Margaret R. Millett demonstrated the way view male and female nakidius differently in biblical art in the Christian with. Millett agreed the, that the naked male body represent glorious, athletic, representing spiritual as well as physical suffering. Sexual abuse don't from part of the narrative of masculinity inverse in representation of Jesus. Naked women, however, are immediately identified as sexual object, saying it women being for civil threat when make be more recognizable as sexual about the stripping of Jesus in the Gospel of Matthew and Mark. If Christian was a female figure who danced Instead do Islamists are already sexual about. Some present day Christians are still reluctant to express that Jesus was a victim of sexual violence and seem to consider sexual abuse as an esqualese, esculase female experience. We may not when to we on the disturbing in the gente of crucifixion of the whole whole year. But it is not being to forget about it. Comple- Complexity at her the sexual about of Jesus is a missing part of Passion and Esther story related. It appropriate to ration Jesus as a victim of sexual violence to others. The countering stigma for those who experience sexual about experiment. Experiment. Then over a period in which that star reality of crucified crucifix make be result and so that to the important withstand the more movement like me to are racing for the car and for with a society until we acknowledge the sexual above of Jesus press will be more willing to acknowledge sexual about in our context. A calculate the daring let there are serf- several issues that become problems. Name the tutor and crucifixion of Jesus. However, there is a tendency for people choosing the charges of sexual harassment and other sexual violence are expressed by women engaged in violent form. In this cause, Jesus himself experienced sexual harassment. It was an art recorded out by the Romans to humiliate choose how when that to be finished have. We know that from this I will Christian to cover the nakedness of Christ on the cross with a loyalty. So in his death, male and family did we difference and so from biblical art in can be explained that the naked my body represent great attitude representing spiritual and physical suffering. We need to know that any form of violence, if for, forgive, export, or spirit, naked is better known as sexual harassment. So this can be an under- understanding that we must know and learn from us so that it can be a lesson for the present. Thank you.